I'm sharing today on empowering destiny keys. And I think just the word empower speaks to me after my journey this morning to even be able to get on the internet for 40 minutes. But here we are. I didn't give up. I persevered and endured, and so did everyone else on screen. And we broke through and stability came. And I had this peace beyond understanding, which I'm not going to pat myself on the back. I'm just going to thank the one who is the author of peace, who lives within all of us. As I step back and just thought, well, it's your seminar. If you want this, you have to take over. And here I am with stability at the moment. So hopefully we'll get through this sharing, and you can come back to this talk anytime you wish. But I want to share with you the keys that I've had to learn. And I'm not suggesting that you take them all on at once, because you'll get indigestion and you'll get overwhelmed, and then you can get disappointed. You can get expectations, and I don't want any of that. I don't recommend any of that. But what I'm going to do is share these destiny keys that have spoken to me, and as a result of applying them to my life has changed for the better again and again and again. And I'm in such a blessing time after going through a bit of hell last year, but we all go through that up and down. It's what we do with it. So I'll share with you, but as I ask that the wonderful counselor, the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of life and truth, Jesus, to really let one thing that I share today stand out to you, like it speaks to you, that you, with his grace, just as Trish earlier suggested that she put a pole up against a beautiful sunflower that was bending over and was certainly not empowered, but next day it was perfect because it had a bit of, it was staked and it was supported. So I pray that the one who will support you and empower you and work with you in your weakness, in your strength, will just really convict you of the one thing you need to, can do, apply to your life with him supporting you, with him moving through you. Remember, that's the key, so that your life can change step by step by step. And it's available, all of this information is available in the book. As wonderful little Nadine said, in Peace, Presence, Power, which is available just about anywhere. And it's also on, you can get an ebook as well. So we'll talk about that later. But let's start. After a journey of about 40 years, actually I feel quite emotional as I share this with you. I guess trying to fix myself up because I was so emotional earlier on in my life, trying to do all the right things and then falling over and something working and not working. I almost became disillusioned. But I got emotional because I've now come to, having journeyed through a lot of, I needed to change. My ways needed to change. My thoughts needed to change. I needed to apply his thoughts. And you all know that. But it was the awareness I lacked at first. And now I've come to the stage at the end of this, so I want to encourage you. Realising, which you probably already know, but it's gone to a deeper level, that the greatest empowering destiny key, let's just use the word, the great empowering comes from within us, from the source of the one who gives us life and is willing to shed his son's life for us. The destiny for me now is just to daily, momentary, throughout the day, to allow him to love me into life, to allow his unconditional love, not expectations, his fatherly, compassionate, merciful love, to love me in the moments of my day when I'm full of joy or when I'm struggling, but to allow that, to spend time in the morning sitting, because I know that has been one of my keys, was sitting and being still maybe sitting and praying the rosary, sitting and reading the Word of God, but more often than not, just sitting and being now and saying, just love me back into life, and you show me anything I need to change. I'm not going to analyse myself, but I want you to analyse it. You in your love show me. In the meantime, just love me back into life, and then I can love him. Now, isn't that, to me, that's our destiny? Because at any moment, at any time, you or I could move on to the next realm, to heaven. And let it be done on earth as it is in heaven. It's meant to begin here. And today, that peace that I had, despite what was going on, despite having organised a seminar, despite being powerless, I had a sense I was powerless, but he wasn't. And if he wanted it, it would happen. So, empowering from him, my destiny is to be with him and in him, and to live for him, chopping up the carrots, speaking to my husband since we were married for years, just being with him. It's almost so simple you miss it. So, but I've had to learn a great deal, and I've done 72 different topics because I had to learn so much about how I needed to change to come into that place of just being and allowing him to love me, and then letting his love flow through me to others. Because how can I give what I ain't got? Now, you all know that, but I wonder how often, this is a question, how often you actually stop and you sit and you ask him to love you so that you can love him back. And in the early days, years ago, I used to sit and I was so cranky, frustrated, irritable, out of sorts, upset, but I'd come as I was and I'd just sit and be and tell him how I felt. Not feeling guilty, but having a relationship. I realised he wanted. He didn't want religiosity, which I've certainly had. He wanted a relationship. And I often used to take 2 hours before I'd feel any sense of peace, knowing nothing, not understanding anything, but just coming as I was the key. So I really believe that not just me, all of us have been created in him, in Jesus, for good works that he has prepared if we only, and this is one of the greatest empowering destiny keys, if we only listen. I used to be like the roadrunner, and I was so busy because I felt so bad about myself deep down. I was so busy trying to be good and do all the good things. I was running, trying to please people, be good for them. Was all I needed to please was God by listening to him and letting him love me and love him. So he's prepared good works that he's already prepared, that we should devote ourselves to them. It's in Ephesians 2. We live from love, for his plans. Now, you can be an accountant, you can be an engineer. In my case, I was going to be an start my own employment agency. It was all ego-driven then. And I probably would have killed my marriage, and I'm not sure where my children would be today. But because I was getting triggered all the time emotionally, I knew I needed to sit and I needed to make a commitment daily to be still. Well, I got the words, I want you in my employment. I didn't know, and I talked about this last seminar, what your purpose in life is. And these two seminars go together. So I'm going to talk about the destiny keys, so it gives you tips and tools. But I got the words one day when I was sitting quietly because I was listening. I want you in my employment, as you heard last week. And I had not got a clue what that is. Now, that was my walk. So I just spent time loving him, listening to him, and doors open. People invited me to give talks. All sorts of things began to happen. I became a coordinator of the healing ministry of CCR. And then after years, I felt called to come aside. That closed down. And I came aside for a long time and sat and waited. And people kept coming to us. I wasn't looking for it. They came to me, we began agape encounter. My greatest, I guess, passion, and this is, he'll call upon what you love most and what you're good at most. Your gifts and talents are uniquely different to mine, and they're going to blend in like the beautiful colors of the rainbows. They're going to blend in. We are many gifts and many parts, like the body itself. So accept your gift, your natural gift. My natural gift was to be with people. I love people. And somehow or other, he's given me a gift of talking. And I think I used to talk too much and I didn't listen too much. And I've learned to listen a lot more. So let me move on anyway. So I don't know what he's called you to do, but I do know he's called you to let him love you. If you will stop and be still and step back. And I do that daily now. I go, oops, I've become the roadrunner again. I'm into the doing again. And I needed to step back and become present and say, no, Lord, take over. And my greatest, another empowering key when I first began was take over, Holy Spirit. It's changed people's lives, those few words. And amazing things begin to happen despite you and despite your humanity. There's some beautiful other things that I've had to learn through the world. I just love these words. Believe the world is plotting to do you good. I think I used to believe that earlier on because I think I had deep down the belief system that I was bad and wrong and it was my fault. It was all my mother's, but I didn't know that. And that's all been released and it's this place of peace. But I think I believed the world was plotting to get me. I felt like I was judged and condemned and set up and shot at. Anyone here feel like that? Anyone here feel judged, condemned, plotted? Now, I had to go through a lot of that and with family members, and I'd feel like I was being crucified and I couldn't understand what was going on. So after many years of listening and being still, one day I got a light bulb moment, another empowering destiny key. So you can come into the place of peace, which may come and go, but you just walk in faith, is he showed me that I was judging and condemning me. I had unrealistic expectations of me. And he's given us expectant faith in him to do what he wants to do. And let him do it through us so that we give who? The glory, him the glory, not myself. I know a lot of you know these things, but stay with the one that stands out to you. So I had to immediately give up judging, criticizing, condemning myself and letting go of expectations. Well, do you know what happened after that? In this space in my mind and in my soul and my spirit, I noticed that there was now a peace, because you can't bring peace into a place when you're doing, I had to change my ways. When I was doing what was contrary to love's will, I was judging and condemning, not only myself and others and critiquing, didn't even know I was unaware. Awareness came through being still, another destiny key. Being still, becoming aware and listening are one of my greatest destiny keys today. So I rejected rejection. And I began to believe, in fact, life began to become an adventure after a while. And when things went wrong in my life, like there were things happening in my life with one of my grandchildren at the moment. And once upon a time, I would have been full of fear and terror, and I would have reacted out of those. And I'd want to try and save him or say something or do something. I've learned now to step back and saying, I'm going to thank you that you're going to bring this to good. Even though he may not know you, he's the sweetest soul. And I'm just going to thank you that you just bring grace and blessing. And this was the great, beautiful thing that I was shown one day. And this was in my mind's eye, as Andrew said, that an image was given to me. Stand out of the way, Helen. Come up beside me. Sit and be with me. Tell me about your grandchild. Tell me how you feel about it. It's my heart. And wait and listen so that you don't react, but rather respond. Another destiny key, do not react. If you react to things like I used to do for years, I used to be in the middle reacting, and all I did was cause more problems. So now I know to go to the throne where he is, unload, wait, and to say, if you want me to do something, you convict me, otherwise I'm not going anywhere, and I'm going to keep thanking you and praising you, stuff that you all know about. So take 100% responsibility for your life. Now, would I love to talk to you about responsibility? Over the last 22 years, I've ministered to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. And they've had wonderful breakthroughs in some area of their memory where there was darkness or there was trauma, and they've come to a great sense of presence and peace. That's in that area of their memory. And it can sometimes go throughout similar memories. But what I realise now is they also have to learn to change their ways. And they need to take responsibility. But in those memories, in my memory, let me talk about me. I used to think I was responsible and guilty for just about every wrong that went on in the world and in the family. And I'd have this sense of false responsibility and heavy burdens. And so I realised in the end that I dealt with all of that over the years. And then I realised the responsibility that we're called to be is the responsibility to love God, love, to allow God to be our lover, our friend, our confidant, our everything, before our husbands, before our ministry, before our work, before wanting things for our children. And this is another thing, is give up wanting. Give up wanting. Because what I found is when I wanted for years, I wanted, certain people to change, because then I thought I'd be happy. I wanted the ministry to grow because I wanted everyone to know what I had seen and perceived, and thought people don't need to live in the dark. Oh my God, we experienced the light. But I realise now that they need to change their ways as well. They need to listen. I need to give all this stuff up of wanting. What want do you need to give up? Because when you're wanting, it's usually, in my case, it was the things of the world that I wanted. I wanted someone or something changed, and I wanted this ministry to go. I'm just repeating myself. So give up wanting and surrender what you want. And then look back and let love love you. I'm going to keep saying this, and sit until peace comes and listen to love. He is unconditional love, you will get to know his voice, you'll get to know his perspective, and it will bring peace, despite the fact that the world's in a mess, despite the fact that your family don't go to mass, despite whoever or whatever is happening to you. You will find you will be in peace, which is in the world but not of the world. So that's where I'm aiming, to be in his presence, in the world but not of it, not allowing things to make me react, but rather respond by coming beside him. So give up blaming, complaining, and start changing. Do you like that one? Give up blaming, complaining, and start changing. So, and I've already kind of said it through rejections. Give up blaming, complaining, and start changing. And then see it as an adventure. So everything that happens to you that is negative or you don't like, or somebody said, go back to I go back to this chair. This is my chair where I sit with him, and I just say, what do you want to teach me? Tell me what I'm feeling. What am I thinking? What's your perspective? Now teach me. He's the greatest teacher of all. I'm not teaching you today. I'm sharing. Beware of our warning signs. I've been through burnout twice because I was so gung-ho and road running with all the good works, of course, and doing things for people and people ringing up and helping them left, right and centre. But I've been through burnout. And then until I learned to say, no, Helen, it's time to listen to and say, who do you want me to minister to? You bring them to me and block those whom you don't want me to help. And I now commit them all to you. So make me so aware that I don't, because I heard this beautiful saying once, I can live within your capacity, says our Creator. Why can't you? Hear that? He can live within our capacity, our humanity. Why don't we accept that we're just human? That's humility. So watch why the body, mind, heart, and spirit meditation is great. If we get present to, oh my gosh, my body's worn out before we crash. It's like having a car with burnt out tires and you're trying to, run it. That's what our body's like. Our body, our mind, our heart, and our spirit is so neglected. Most people have no idea whether the spirit is flat or lifeless or full of life. And that's a day by day, throughout the day. So, now despite the past is only there for you under the guidance, always under the wonderful counsel, to be looked at only under his guidance, to be used for good. Don't, please. I learned not to go back there. Do not go back to the past, other than to learn from it. And only if the wonderful counsel, which he's done for 22 years, taken people back into the past because they've got unresolved memories of where there's darkness, trauma, whatever. I don't do it. They just listen and it comes up. I'm just a facilitator, as the team is. And then they experience their feelings, beliefs, hold all the trauma together as well as the trauma. And then they experience his presence, releasing them. So never go back. Let the past be in the past and be in the present moment now. Do not go into the future. I heard someone who was very close to me last night, despite knowing all of this. I heard, oh my God, I was thinking about when 5 years time from now, and when my children have gone, I'm not going to, and she went on with all of these lists of things she's not going to do. They're decisions now, 5 years in the future. So that's called trying to control circumstances, trying to control the future. What I've found is when people go into the future, they actually lose the present, which wants to become a present to you when you run into the future. You can do draft plans, but not hang your hat on it. And someone used to ring me all the time. I'll call her Jill. And she'd tell me, oh my God, I've exploded at my husband. I've said things I shouldn't have said, da, 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 da. And I'd say, oh, it's okay. I mean, it's not okay you've done it, but, it can be turned to good. This is what I do. You can choose to do what you want to do, because I'm not going to tell you anything. I'm just going to share with you what I do. And I said, what I do is go back, and it's a wonderful opportunity. She said, what for? Because she felt bad, guilty, the whole bit. And I said, this was a wonderful opportunity for me. I learned over years, because I had to do lots of it, was to say, I'm sorry for the manner in which I spoke. I'm not always sorry for what I've said, because it's often truth, not always, but I'm sorry for the manner in which I've spoken. You can do that. You need to do that. That's what I call cleaning up your mess. This builds relationships. This makes people feel that you're listening to them. If you want a healthy relationship. And I'm aware that I've shared with you so much already. One of the greatest things that I've struggled with has been doubting. Anyone here ever doubt? Yes, when you stand in faith, when you ask in prayer and thanksgiving. Most of us pray in prayer and anxiety. I mean, it's not laughable, actually. It's kind of sad, because I see so many sad Christians, so many good people, but they're so sad and they're so full of anxiety and fear. It's just to pray. It doesn't, despite what you feel, you've been invited to pray in prayer and thanksgiving. And when you stand, believe. Who? Not me. Believe wisdom. Believe your Creator. And do not doubt. If you want to know where that is, just check it on Google and you get all sorts of other information. Feel fear. Fear has got to be one of the biggest obstacles for so many people. Fear and anxiety. I'm just touching on this. And again, you just take what you want from this. Fear is false evidence appearing real. It is just an echo of the past, or else you're just being bombarded by outside forces. You can actually choose to stand. You can actually choose to stand and feel the fear and process it. We've got a wonderful How to Gain Emotional Mental Peace seminar, which is free on our website, agapeencounter.org. You'll get a copy of that link after the seminar. You know, you can just process it. That's why I put it there. And that's why people can go back to it and use it to process their fear again and again and again and again until they're standing. They've got stability, which is what I needed in the internet today. And I've got it. How is it? Now, I love asking. Certain people in my family hate asking. But I love asking because you always learn when you ask. But then you've got to listen. Ask your neighbour, ask your friend. And I love listening to them. I've come to actually love listening. Except when you get those people that go around and around and around with the same thing. And then I just stand back and just pass them over and pray for them because they're stuck. And sometimes it gives them something. Sometimes people get stuck on the same thing because it gives them something to a victimhood where they get attention. I don't know. Sometimes it's just simply that they're stuck and they need some help. And that's what we're here for, to help people who are stuck. Now, I feel like I've overwhelmed you, but you can get this booklet on the internet. I'll give you the link. It costs $3. You can download the pages. You can work through this one at a time, or you can just ask and listen. Use constructive feedback. Now, once upon a time, because I felt so judged, and so as a child and growing up, I couldn't hear any constructive comments coming to me, or comments or criticism. Now I just take them and say, what do you think about this, Wisdom? What do you want me to learn from this? What's the truth in this? Is this mine or is that theirs? And what can I learn from this? Do you reckon that's great? So you use everything. I'm not going to say much more because it's just take one step at a time. What's the one step you're being invited to take? So that you're not overwhelmed. You never get, I believe we never get overwhelmed unless we're in our responsible role and we're having to save people all at one time, going into the future, the past, and taking on, and we become like the saviour role, So give it up. Just let the saviour within you and who's with everyone. Thank him for doing the work. Be true. You will reap what you sow, and I hope you sow well, and I hope that it's given to you overflowing and in abundance. There's a beautiful bit of, I'm just going to finish with this. You'll be able to love your horrible neighbour. And in fact, this was at Mass this morning. We're called to love our, love those, our enemy, and do good to those that harm us. I started doing that because I was convicted of it sometime, and it melted all sorts of walls. So do that. The kingdom of God lives in you and is only wanting to grow up in you if all of these things change. Change your ways, change my ways. Listen to me. If you love me, you listen to me. Okay. The disciples of Christ, this is where I'm going to finish, does not just know God, and you know by listening, interacting, have a relationship. He knows the Father and the Son, and this is enough to make a new person out of him. From that moment on, please listen. People become aware of their dignity and their common destiny in Luke 8. Luke 8. Sit with that. It's not about us and our success. It's not about God loving us into life. relationship with him first. Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon. Let me just do that again. It's not just about us and our success, because who's center? Who's center of our life? It used to be me wanting to be fixed up. It's about God allowing him to love us into life and have a relationship with him first, then all things will follow. Seek your happiness in me first, you know the rest. And then all these things shall be added to you. Now, I'm just going to pause because I've said so much, and I'm going to say, wonderful counsellor who lives within you, which one, I'm going to ask you to number something you wrote down. What stands out to you? What's one thing that they can take and change and reap the benefits? Just stop and listen. What's the one thing the Holy Spirit's saying to you now? One thing. But remember, it's with him, not alone, because otherwise you'll end up falling over again and again. You take control and do it, you'll fall over and you'll get frustrated. That one thing. And what's the second thing? Just take two things maybe. I know I'm running ahead, but just what's the second thing you would ask them with your grace and your help to do, to apply? So they reach the destiny, which is to be at peace now, despite the mess in the world. And you're forbidden, from my point of view, to be disappointed in yourself, because that means you've got expectations. You have an expectant faith in the one who lives in you to accomplish and achieve this with you. You just have to allow and put him first. First commandment. And then you can love others. Then everything will flow in your business, your life, where you're meant to be destined to use your natural talent. Don't let fear keep you hidden away. Shine your light. All you have to say, I'm available. Here I am. Thank you for listening. And I hope that you see the fruit of what you do with the one who's giving you this life, this body, this whole thing. Not you doing it, so he gets the glory. Thanks for listening.